Passenger Seat Podcast, a podcast designed to fill your passenger seat with chat about classic cars, all recorded from my 1968 Morris Minor Peggy. I'm Becca, and today we're going to be talking about a day where Peggy got to stay home, have a little rest and recovery in the garage, and I went out in one of Dad's cars to the Bedfordshire Steam and Country Fair at the Shuttleworth collection. So, a member of the Singer Owners Club had put out an appeal to get some singers on a stand at the Bedfordshire Steam and Country Fair, and my dad had put himself down for 2 cars to be there over the 3 days, and the idea was that I could take something along, or he could bring 2 cars along, or if one of his friends wanted to go along as well, then they'd have the option to go as well. So he went along on the Friday, and by all accounts had a really good time. He took just the junior along that day, and he had a great time, and there was lots of fantastic photos in the chat, and he was saying that it was going to be a pretty good show all told, and the weather had warmed back up again from some of the drizzly, horrible, autumny rain that we'd been having lately. And so I was really looking forward to the fact that we had picked Lulu, the singer Chamois, up off of him on the Thursday, and I was going to take Jamie along and meet them there for the day on the Saturday. So we set off from ours, met up with Mum and Dad, and then followed them down to Shuttleworth, which is where it was happening. I've not actually managed to go around the Shuttleworth collection yet, and it's on my list of places that I'd quite like to go. And I thought I'd get a chance to do it on this event, but actually there was so much happening at the fair that I didn't really get a chance to go out to the museum at all, which is a bit of a shame, but meant that the event was really fantastic and well worth going along to. We got down there for about 9 o'clock, going at Emma speeds along the A1, and didn't take too long, not too far from us, so that was quite good, and got ourselves parked up on the stand. And the Singer Owners Club had actually managed to get a remarkable number of singers in one place, and most interestingly managed to get 4 juniors together, including 2 box saloons, which was quite unusual, and so made for quite an interesting lineup for sure. It's a rare day when something like an imp is even rarer than something that is a pre-war car at a show, and so Lulu, when she was parked on the stand, ended up standing out quite a bit compared to even the pre-war stuff that was pretty exceptional. And it was as we pulled up to park up on the stand, I realised that I recognised 2 cars that were parked already very close to the Singer Owners Club stand. One was an Austin 7, which our friends Liam and Beth had on the Classic Car Loan Project a few years ago, and had most recently actually been at their wedding that we went to up in Scarborough. So it was quite surprising to see that on the field, and it turns out that it's currently being loaned to a young lad who knows some of our singer friends, so that was quite nice. And then parked next to that was Billy the Bullnose, and I knew Andy was going to be there, but wasn't expecting to be so easy to find Billy. So before I parked up properly on the Singer Owners Club stand, I parked Lulu up next to those 2 cars to snap a photo, and then parked her up. We got ourselves settled in, had a cup of tea, had a look at the plan for the day and the map of the field, and then ended up going for a bit of a wander, and it was an absolutely vast display of steam and stalls and displays. It had essentially kind of 3 arenas where stuff was happening, 2 bars, loads and loads of stalls, and just it was such a moving and engaging event because they had steam traction engines going around, driving around basically all day or demonstrating. You had kind of people driving around in their vehicles as well. You were actively kind of encouraged to drive around in your vehicles. You had horse displays, dog displays. They had kind of the main arena where things were happening, but then they also had stuff like a playpen where you could go in and try different challenges and stuff in a traction engine as well. So loads to see and do, and we were there for the day and made a good go of it. But I think, yeah, you could easily get 3 days out of that event and have a great time throughout all of them. So it's definitely something that I'll be popping in the calendar for next year. So after we'd had our cup of tea, we went for a walk, and we started with kind of some of the stalls and stuff, and some of the traction engines that were on display near those. And it was Jamie's first time at a steam fair. I've had Peggy now for over 4 years, and most of the stuff has been kind of classic car shows that we've been to, really. There hasn't been an awful lot of proper steam fairs. I used to go to them loads as a kid, and I think that's partially because we spent so much time living over in Wales, where there's a lot of them, like at the Oswestry Showground and things like that. But yeah, hadn't managed to go to one with Jamie, so it made for quite a good day out. We had a nice time going around all of those stalls, and that kind of meandered its way up towards the kind of food and bar area, and we got a little snack and something to drink and sat there for a bit and just watched as all of these engines were just going round and going past. It was like the most bizarre traffic jam that you'd ever seen as they kind of came up through the busyness of the bar and food area, and then kind of went through or slowed down, and people hopped off of them to pick up food and then get back on them. And it was yeah, just the most bizarre thing. And whilst you were sat there, you could see the kind of fairground as well that was all steam powered, and we decided that we'd come back a little bit later to have a go on some of that. But it was just such a, because there was so much moving and so much going on, you could just sit there and watch stuff for ages. It was fantastic. We ended up walking back just after midday to where we'd parked the cars, and meeting up with my mum and dad for some lunch, having a chat with some of the other singer owners that had come along since we'd gone for our walk. Then before we went off again, Dad said, would you like to have a go at driving Emma? I've been on the insurance for Emma for a little while, but Emma is really my sister's car, so it was important that she got to have a go of driving her before I did. And she managed to have a go of driving it at the Singer Owners Club weekend, and obviously drove it into the ring for all its prizes and stuff like that. So I was all in the clear to be able to have a go. And Emma's quite unusual in the fact that her accelerator is in the middle, and so hadn't really experienced that before, but luckily there was no great speeds happening around the steam fair because of how busy it was. So it was a good opportunity to kind of get your head around it and get used to it, and also perhaps deal with the fact that it can be quite nerve-wracking. You can kind of stop worrying about it so much. So we did a little bit on some of the road that was there, and then went into kind of the main display area. We managed to get up to about second gear at one point, but it wasn't hugely a lot of practice with the gears, but there was a lot of going in and out of first as we kind of came to a halt in places, because obviously there was lots of traction engines and things going around, lots of people about, that meant that you kind of had to slow down and stop in places and get your head around some of that. And we ended up in that traffic jam that we'd essentially been watching at lunchtime, and taking in the fact that we were surrounded by lots of these big traction engines and steamrollers and stuff that had been driving round, but then kind of in between them on the road was the little kind of miniature ones that people were nipping about really quite quickly on. There was steam cars going in and around, and you're just kind of trying to weave in and out as well. And behind us there was a Rolls-Royce Silver Ghost. It was just something that you'd never imagine kind of being able to drive through, and to drive through in such an old car as well, and kind of feel really part of it. But it was a fantastic experience. And eventually we made it back towards the kind of market area, where my dad hopped out to go and pick up some deck chairs that he and Mum were buying, and then it was time to drive back and park up, so I had to find reverse and try and reverse the car into the car parking spot that we had for the first time, and I think I did reasonably well, so that was all good. Once we'd finished my little drive round, we went for a walk around the cars that we were parked at, and I realised I've done a somewhat terrible job, because I got lots of photos of the Singer stand but no footage of the Singer stand in this situation, but lots of fascinating cars. There was a one-of-one WB that was fantastic and had a Coventry Climax engine in it, which is obviously what the Imp engine ended up being based off of, which was quite interesting to see and make some comparisons to. Wide range of tractors and stuff as well, military vehicles. You guys know how much I love my vintage and classic commercial vehicles, and there was a whole section of those as well. They had a demonstration at one point of them doing kind of a fire and rescue car accident removal, which was quite interesting. And they had the kind of fire engines flying in from across the site to come and deal with it. So that was, again, just so much to see and do. And we were there from 9 o'clock until 5:30, 6 o'clock-ish really. And we didn't see all of it, and we didn't even get to kind of go in the Shuttleworth collection or go inside the Shuttleworth house, where they had even more kind of stalls and bits and bobs on. We did manage to go over to the Steam Fairground and try out a few rides. I have very fond memories of going on a cakewalk in Stamford Market's fair at Easter, I think it was, their Lent fair that they do, and so it was fun to be able to go on one of them again, and Jamie get to experience it for the first time. And then they had some dodgems, which are always a favourite of Jamie and I's, and they were quite fun, quite fast, and I managed to get in and get the car to bash up against Jamie's one quite effectively, and we managed to get a blue car for me and a red car for him as well, so that was great. And yeah, just loads of fun, and it was all quite reasonably priced as well. Like, you think about how much fairgrounds can be now, £2.50 each for like the cakewalk and £4 each for the dodgems, because we had separate cars, was all quite good. They also had some showman's trailers there that obviously some of the people that were running the fairground were living in, but also had one of them kind of open in a way that you could peer inside and just see kind of the level of craftsmanship and stuff that goes into making those little trailers up, and the convoys that would be involved in getting the fairground to and from places. I think there was also a section that was sponsored brilliantly, I think, by a scaffolding company, that was some scaffolding that you walked up to be able to look down on a traction engine from above and see kind of how it's all working and see how it all operates and things, which was something, again, fascinating. And I'd love for them to be able to have like maybe a bit where you can ask to kind of get rides and stuff on them around the site, like one loop around the site, and experience being up on one while it was moving. But it was great to be able to see it from above in that way and see how it all operates together. It was quite impressive, really, and a great use of a sponsorship there for the scaffolding company. It got to about 4 o'clock and we headed back to the cars to sit and chat to some people before people started to head home, and we had another cup of tea and stuff, and eventually wrapped ourselves up, put everything back in the cars and headed home. We stopped for some dinner with my parents on the way home, and then after that Emma started playing up a little bit. We think it's because Dad had decided that the following day he might take Lulu for a change and give Emma the third day off, and so Emma wasn't best pleased by that, and has decided she needs a little bit of help on her manifold, but luckily Dad has a spare one that he can pop on whilst the other one gets fixed. But it was quite interesting being behind them whilst it was starting to misbehave a little bit, and we got them all home safely eventually. But it was a fantastic day out, and they've got camping on there for both exhibitors and spectators. There was obviously the huge Shuttleworth collection that I didn't actually manage to get round, that I'll obviously have to go back for at some point. But yeah, just a fantastic show, and I know that there's a lot of work going into making it even bigger and better for next year. So I might even look into getting some stands there for the WDSC or for the young members, or if they're interested, and making a big weekend of it, because I think it, especially if the weather's nice like it was, and I know September can be a bit iffy, but I think it could be a really nice weekend out. And I think steam fairs are now something that we'll be keeping a more keen eye open for, to find some more to take Peggy to and have a nice time there instead. It just offers a little bit more variety than just a classic car show in some regards, and there's always kind of stuff going on to go and have a look at. But that's what I got up to this weekend. We only went for the one day because I was quite tired and had a lot on, so needed the Sunday to get myself sorted and recouped, but definitely making time for the whole weekend next year. Would love to hear what you've been up to. Again, not much time left of this good weather to enjoy our beloved classics, so what are you guys going to? I will be at Rustival in 2 weekends time, and looking forward to hopefully seeing a few of you. It's quite fun because Rustival was one of the last things that Peggy went to before her restoration, and she was much more on the clapped out side of things than the concourse side of things with that when we last went, so it'll be good to see her having kind of come through if you saw her at the last one and haven't seen her since. But that's it for today's podcast. Thank you ever so much for listening. Drive safely and happy motoring.